just thrown up so starkly in these two programs. So it'll be a Couchman special exclusively with young people. But now let's just all watch part 2 of Nobody's Children.
That morning we went for a surf, me and a few of his mates, and we went for a surf out Windang, out Sharkies. And I was talking to him saying, oh, what am I going to get for my birthday? And he's going, oh, are you going to get a wetsuit, spring suit, short john, something like that? And I said, oh, choice, you know, but he just made it up, got a watch, you know. And we were out on the surf, and he just acted normal. He had everything going for him, you know. He was a good student, you know.
How about friends?
Yeah, he had heaps of friends, a lot of friends. Your mum noticed a few signs or symptoms of depression. That she noticed that he was going to sleep in his clothes, you know. He didn't change, he didn't go into his pyjamas. He took the dog up with him, and we were looking for him till the next day. We couldn't find him. We were looking everywhere, and we found him the next day, hanging on a tree.
When did you discover the message?
Oh, we found that in his pocket when he...
Oh, it was in his pocket?
Yeah.
What did he have on the message?
Yes, I can't. I did this because I couldn't get a job. Love, Mick. It's incredible, it's strange. That's all he wrote.
There's an epidemic of despair among young Australians. They're committing suicide at the rate of 1 every day. And this year, an estimated 50,000 more will attempt and fail. But suicide is not the only symptom of this despair. Drug abuse, violence, and crime are on the increase too. Australia's 40,000 homeless kids are only the start of the problem. There are hundreds of thousands of others who still have parents and homes, but who feel they're failing at school, failing to get a job, failing to cope. They're on their way to joining an underclass of rejects, which is growing every day. $500,000 of this generation are convinced that they have no future, that they're unwanted and useless. that they too are nobody's children.
When I get big, I want to be a racing car driver. I want to be a boxer. I want to be a hairdresser when I grow up. I'm going to be a mum and a police. I want to work in a shop. When I want to grow up, I want to be a teacher. When I leave school, I want to be a paleontologist. When I grow up, I want to be a police lady. I'm going to be a clown. When I leave school, I'm going to be a nurse. When I grow up, I want to sing Simply Irresistible. When I grow up, I want to be a dancing teacher. I want to be a bank clerk or a bank manager.
I'd like to be a doctor or a journalist when I grow up.
I'd like to be a vet. I want to be in the Air Force when I grow up.
I'd like to be a model or a journalist when I grow up.
You know, kids come out and they're 6 years old and they're full of promise and possibilities. And by 8 or 9, they're starting to realise that maybe for them it's difficult, it's a struggle. And if they look around at models around them, there's no example to follow. So by 10 and 11, and they're starting to hit puberty, so they're growing and starting to feel a little insecure with all the changes, they very often look to the group and look to the older kids. And there's so many older kids who are drifting out there doing nothing other than abusing themselves, drinking, smoking bongs, getting stoned, breaking into places. And the younger kids think, well, that must be the way it is.
It's not the way it used to be. Their parents crossed over easily from school to a secure job, but now that security is gone. "20 years ago, only one young person in 100 faced long-term unemployment. But today it's 1 in 5, and in some industrial communities, every second school leaver cannot find work. It's not that industries are failing, business is booming, but the key to profit is productivity. Robots and computers now work the massive plants that once employed thousands of young people. A whole generation is growing up in the shadow of these near-deserted mills. The jobs their parents had are gone. The jobs that are left, they're mostly not equipped to do. What's true in heavy industry is just as true in banks, retail stores, offices and hospitals. There's the early morning train to the high rise of the big cities, where there's work to be had and good wages for the clever and the qualified. But only a few can make the leap from foundry floor to computer keyboard in a single generation. Some will begin the journey but not complete it. Others will never even start. For those that are left behind, there are casual and part-time jobs, paying little and going nowhere. For a fifth of Australia's school leavers, there are no jobs at all.
Times have changed. They've changed in the UK, they've changed in the United States, and they've changed in Australia. In particular, what's going on is that the jobs that used to be available for school leavers are drying up. Manufacturing jobs, clerical jobs, banking jobs, government jobs. It used to be that a youngster would leave school, 15, 16, 17, and they had a choice of a range of different kinds of employment opportunities. They don't have those jobs anymore, to the same degree at least. There are some. But what's happening is young people are being left out. So there's a large number of young people who are unemployed, the new underclass. Now what's different about this group is that in the past, unemployment for young and old people tended to be a temporary phenomenon. Things got better, they'd get a job. These young people experience a very different kind of a problem. And that problem is that they can't start a career. So that unemployment means for them not simply that they're out of work, it means that they can't get started with life in the way that you and I were able to start in life. Now that, as I say, is a worldwide phenomenon. It's affected very dramatically the United States, particularly in terms of ghetto kids. It's affected the UK, it's affected Western Europe, and certainly it's now affecting Australia.
In the boom economy of the 1950s and 60s, Australia had the lowest school retention rate in the industrial world. Only 1 in 5 children stayed on at school after the age of 16. Now the gloomy prospects in the world outside have had a dramatic effect in Australia's classrooms and schoolyards. Whether they love school or loathe it, this generation of children will be staying on in huge numbers. If they leave, there's no dole until they're 18. If they stay, there's a student allowance. But schools haven't changed fast enough to cope with this new army of unwilling students. What they need to learn, they're not being taught. What they're being taught, they don't understand.
Work, it's pretty hard. You know, you put your hand up and you ask the teacher, and you know what ask what the question is on the board, and they tell you, but you know you won't get it. I never get it. When you look at the question, and I ask, oh, how do you do it, and they tell you, but in a long way, you know, different kind of way, which I don't understand.
I asked for some help and she explained it to me twice, and I still didn't understand, and I wasn't too sure. I was too frightened to go up again and ask her. She would, you know, I don't like walking up and to make a fool of myself and then keep walking up to people and ask them the same thing. And I used to copy off my mates a lot, and when it come to test, I was no good. And after a while, I just couldn't handle school no more. I was so sick of cheating, and I knew I wouldn't get nowhere in life if I kept cheating.
The work really gets to me. The work. I don't understand it.
Don't you ask for people to explain it to you?
I've asked, but he explains it on the board, and I don't like to ask again because he's already explained it once, and you know, I feel stupid if I ask again. I don't understand it, so I just let it go. And if I get before the exam comes, which is pretty stupid, before the exam comes, I'll ask a friend to help me, and then it'll all be in my head at once.
And what do you think your chances are once you leave school?
Well, unemployed.
No chance but of getting a job, do you think?
No.
Why not?
Well, no, I just don't think I will.
And what about your mates?
No, they'll be unemployed too.
Why is that, do you think?
I don't know, just fail a lot.
I'm sorry?
They just fail a lot.
I mean, you don't think about your future. You think, you know, what's the use of studying hard and everything if I'm not going to get anywhere? And just, you want to live for now, not for later on. And especially if you're not going anywhere now, how's that going to change in the future? How are you going to get better? You can't see into the future, I mean. There's that feeling of insecurity where you just don't know what's going to happen. And you just don't know what lays ahead, so it's easier not to take part in it at all. I mean, you'd like to say, oh, sure, I'm going to do this and have all this ambition, have all these things, but that just gets taken away when you receive your marks and you just realise that you really aren't going anywhere.
Which one's this one? Gemma, what's this one? She's not got the same. Many children in the high school have a feeling of, it's hopelessness really. They don't see any true goal to reach for in the future. You know, if you've been really hoping that you're going to do something wonderful with your life until you're 12 years old and then you go to high school and you just realise that it's suddenly all too hard You see that there are some students who can achieve at a very high level, even in your class. And your teacher's always saying you have to pay attention, and if you don't concentrate, why can't you learn, you know, like so-and-so? Or if the child has had a brother who's achieved, it's even worse.
There are few environments as cruel as the classroom. Most children feel that failure here will mark them off for life. The winners taunt the losers in self-protection band together to scorn the winners.
One day I seen what happened. My mate, he was in science and all the girls were up the back and he tried to answer the question, but he didn't understand it. And all the girls started laughing at him and, you know, and he got embarrassed, and that's how we get, that's how they think we're dumb and they think they're smart.
There's two groups. Half of them stay down in the ovals and that, and the other half are normally hanging around in the library studying and stuff like that.
Whereabouts are you?
We're down in the oval.
Why is that?
It's just because of two groups. I mean, like, we like being outside and they like being in here studying because they want to go to uni or something like that.
There's some kids that sit home on the weekends and study, and I really feel sorry for them. I think that they don't know how to go out with their mates and have a good time. They sit home, you know, straight and study. I know they might have a good job later on, but still enjoy life while you're young. That's what I think. And like, I've got a maths exam on Monday, but I'm not going to study for it because last time I did 5 hours for it and I failed.
The schools aren't changing quickly enough. The kids who stay on, who normally would have gone off and got a job, they find that the school subjects are geared to university entrance. They're elitist, and frequently, I'm afraid to say, they find those school subjects irrelevant. The structures turn them off. What they are supposed to learn turn them off. They don't see it as relevant to the sort of future and work they want. So that although I support increasing school retention, I think that's crucial. It can only work if there's fundamental change in the school curriculum and the subjects and the way things are taught. And to date, that hasn't happened quickly enough.
The challenge facing schools today is to cater for all the students who are coming through them. For instance, of an average year, we would have taken 250 kids in year 7. Of those, maybe 50 will sit for the high school certificate, and of that 50, maybe half again or less will get a necessary matriculation requirement. Now, what happens to the other 200 in the first place, and then the other 35 who might then fail in the high school certificate? We need to provide the curriculum for them which allows them to learn the skills for survival, to learn how to cope with diminished possibilities, if nothing else, to learn how to survive in a world where the employment opportunities are not what they were. If we don't, and when we don't, because we currently don't, then we see the legacy is violent behaviour, abuse in schools, constant focusing on acting out disruptive behaviour. That becomes the preoccupation of schools.
As soon as we got here, things were a bit quiet for the first 6 months, and then we started getting into it. We started throwing stuff at each other, depends what it was, paper or anything. And then year 8, we just started yelling out, screaming at teachers, telling them where to go and stuff like that. In year 9, it started getting into the tables, chairs thrown at each other.
Why was that, though? Why were those sorts of things happening?
Because I don't think the subjects that are offered will help me in future years.
I spat on a teacher and chuck dust at a teacher, rubber, swear at teachers, just money, or everything bad.
So why did you spit on the teacher?
When was that? He's walking past me and he bumped me. And I went like that, all over my page. And I said, "Sir, you just bumped me then." He goes, "So you should move over." And I said, "All right," and I just spat on him.
I was up on the top of some stairs talking to some of my mates, and I had my bike up on top of the stairs at the front of B wing, and then a teacher come along and told me to get my bike down. I said, "You're going to make me?" He goes, "I might just do that." And then he grabbed me. First he kicked me bike and buckled the back wheel. Then I had me jump around my shoulders and he ripped that off, trying to pull me down the stairs. So I hit him, then I kicked him and he fell down the stairs.
And what happened to him?
So he got up and shaped up to me, but all my friends were coming over, they were going to bash him. So he just said, "I might put an assault charge on you." And I said, "I don't care what you do."
A handful of disruptive kids can make everyone suffer, not just those who are struggling, but the better students as well. Some are simply switching off or voting with their feet. On any one school day across Australia, more than 40,000 students will be absent without good reason.
If it is a good day and it's sunny and you're intending to go to school anyway and you get dressed and you come to school and then you're at the front, this is before the bell goes, and someone says, "Hey, you know, what are we doing at school today? Do you want to go for a day? Do you want to go down the river? It's going to be good, let's go swimming." And then you're encouraged and you always say, "Oh yeah, that'd be good. What else could be better than going swimming?" So then there might be 5 or 6 of you that go down to the river and you just stay there for the whole day, and then later on there'll be more kids that wag periods, not the whole day, just different sessions of school. And then they could end up with 25 kids down there from the same school, just all swimming. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. You don't think of getting caught. It's the last thing in your mind.
How much time have you wagged this year?
Oh, about 2 months.
What, 2 months of days?
Yeah.
Where do you go when you wag?
Down the river.
Always down the river?
Yeah.
And what do you do down there?
Just have a swim.
What about in the winter time?
No, I'll go to my store.
Where do you go?
A mate's store.
And what do you do there?
No, I'll just watch a video or something.
Every kid, I don't know one that has not wagged or ever lied to a teacher. Ever.
And how many get caught?
Half of them, maybe more than half. But they'll still do it again and again. They don't learn. I don't learn.
How many times have you been caught?
I've been suspended from school for wagging, and that frightened the hell out of me. I got in so much trouble at home as well, but I still do it again.
And you're still wagging now?
Mm.
When did you first start wagging school?
The second day of the first year.
How old were you at that stage?
11, 12.
And how often did you wag after that?
Every day.
What do you mean every day?
Every day of the week.
You just didn't go back?
No.
Why did you find it so hard to go to school?
Because I didn't like the teachers. Couldn't do the work. Didn't like being told what to do.
How hard did you find to keep up with the work?
It's pretty hard.
Did you try?
Yeah, sort of.
You've burnt down a couple of schools.
Yeah,
or
2.
tried.
Yeah.
You've burnt down 2 schools, have you?
Yeah.
Tell me about how you went about that.
Well, the second one I did, I broke the window, went into the room, got all the kids' books and papers and that, and put them on the middle of the floor, and lit them on fire, then jumped at the window and pissed off.
And did the school burn down?
No, it didn't.
Did that upset you?
Yeah, spilling the cunt didn't burn down, so I ended up going back to that school.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Ended up getting sent to that school.
You got sent to that school? So why did you try and burn it down?
So I didn't have to go.
And how did you feel about you not being able to actually burn it down?
I don't know, spilling the cunt didn't burn down. You know?
Last year in one state alone, vandals caused $14 million worth of damage to schools. The culprits, more often than not, are students themselves.
Since I was about 8, I started breaking into schools, breaking, say, about 20 schools. I know I just used to get a thrill out of it, break into school and mess up teachers' desks, you know, throw a few things around. If there was money there, I'd grab it. But, you know, I don't know, just used to go in there. I know there was something about school, you know, hated the teachers and that. So I suppose you'd say a bit of a revenge, I suppose I used to think. A bit of revenge, take out a bit of revenge, break into school, mess it up, you know.
Vandalising schools gives you some idea of how angry some kids are at school, how misplaced they feel at school, how irrelevant they feel it is to their life, how they feel about being coerced from their point of view into being there. And I think for every kid who has the energy, misplaced even though it is, to do something like that, there are thousands of kids who either haven't got the energy or the courage to do something of that sort, or who simply have given up and sort of cop out.
Australia's first currency was rum. We're a nation of drinkers. But young people are starting to drink earlier than ever, and they don't rely on alcohol alone. A night out for the young and affluent is pepped up by a snort of coke, a hit of speed, or a tab of ecstasy. Like alcohol itself, these drugs are treacherous. They'll claim victims at every level of society. But the young without money or prospects are especially vulnerable. For them, drink and drugs offer more than a thrill on a Friday night. They're a substitute for hope, an everyday route to oblivion.
And how much would you drink?
A bottle.
A bottle of what?
It's whiskey and Scotch whiskey.
So how often would you drink a bottle?
A day.
You drank a bottle of whiskey a day. For how long?
About a month and a half.
So why did you feel that you had to do that?
To calm me down.
Did it calm you down?
Yeah, in a way it did, but not once I got to school.
I first started drinking when I was about 10. I just had a couple of drinks at my brother's house. And then from then I've just been drinking every weekend.
What about through the week?
Nah, don't drink for the week.
Do you drink fairly heavily on the weekend?
No, probably me and my mate with girls and a bottle each.
A bottle of what?
Scotch, or bourbon, anything.
What about dope?
Yeah, get a foil. Chuck in $10 each. Buy a foil.
How long have you been smoking dope?
About 2 years.
How old was that?
15 now. I would have been 13.
And do you smoke it fairly regularly now?
Yeah.
Why do you feel you have to smoke dope and drink?
No, there's nothing else to do. There's nothing to do around the area. There's really nothing much going. Nothing going on.
There's a lot of emphasis in this country on the use of drugs by young people. I think often that detracts from the fact that young people tend to use drugs in exactly the same way adults do. There is widespread use of drugs recreationally, drinking, smoking marijuana and so on. However, for a particular group of young people, they move, I think, from being drug users to drug abusers. These kids tend to be the ones being much more vulnerable who are likely to become abusers of alcohol, perhaps even more significantly, they not only abuse alcohol, but they mix alcohol with various other substances. They virtually will take drugs in combination, which leads to increased risk of physical damage to the body. Basically, they're kids who are saying life is all rather pointless. Why not drink? Why not get out of it all the time?
If you're not accepted, if you're not in the group where you're looked up to as being intelligent and everything, then you might as well just sit back and party. I mean, just get what you can now, because you won't be able to do that when you get older. You might say, oh, that's ruining your life and everything, but what else is there? What are you going to do? Go to school and do maths and subjects like that? I mean, you can't see any purpose in that. You can only see what's ahead of you, what's actually there in front of you. I mean, people try and say, oh, you've got to study so in the future you can get a nice job and everything, but I mean, sure, that's for the kids that are up getting the really good grades, but what about the ones down below? I mean, what's set for them? I mean, there's nothing. There's just that feeling of hopelessness. And when that comes, drugs just seem a really viable solution.
Grass, you'll find a lot of young people buying it. A lot of young people buy grass hash.
How young would those people be?
I've seen them buy it, 13, 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds. I've seen 12-year-olds sit down and have a session with other people, you know. I don't know. It's hard to say.
What sort of things would kids do to keep their habit going?
Rip mum off. Rip mum off. That's your usual story. They get their pocket money for the week. Might get $20. Kid down the road might get $20. Other kid across the road might get $20. They all buy a foil each. And they'll sit around in someone's cubby house and smoke it.
That'd be a foil of what?
Grass.
It sort of came to my attention, actually, seeing things from year 9 upwards, from the 3rd year up, seeing or smelling kids smoking dope in the toilets, which weren't really patrolled that often by teachers. Occasionally they were, but that was for smokers in general, nothing in particular. Well, being a school on the North Shore, I think people just don't believe that kids do drugs at school, but they do.
What sort of drugs did you come across?
Well, in the first few years it was only dope, nothing else was much around, although I presume the older kids were into other things. In years 11 and 12, where each year had their own common room, well, there was one girl in my form that I was good friends with. She was really into speed. She used to do a lot. Kept her hyperactive all the time, kept her awake, kept her doing the things at school that she wanted to do as well as out of hours. I suppose it just made her feel good. She's now dead. So that's one down out of there was probably only 20 girls in my form in year 11 and 3/4 of that in year 12. There was a girl who was a smack addict.
You mean heroin, do you?
Yeah. 1 or 2, sometimes even 3 shots a day.
Where would she shoot up at school?
In the common room. It didn't really matter who was there or who wasn't, because no one had the hide or the guts to dob her in.
Parents don't have much of an idea at all about what's going on with kids and drugs. I mean, parents never think, they see the campaigns on TV, drug offensive, things like that, but they don't know that it's their kids. They wouldn't have any idea that it's their kids. They tell their kids, oh, you better not hang around with this, you better not get into drugs, and the kids say, yeah. But really, they don't have any idea if it's their kid or not. Parents really are naive, and to do with drugs, because they never grew up in the same way that we have grown up, with drugs being an everyday thing. When you hear about people getting stoned, things like that, it's not something you think, oh, really? It's just an everyday thing, just like car accidents and things like that.
For at least a few of these kids, one drug will lead to another. Experiment will lead to addiction. They'll be on a downward spiral from which some will never climb back.
Once they get around 13-year-old, stuff like that, get them using heroin and anything like that. And some of the bastards are really slimy because they know that the kid smokes. So what they do, so they put a little bit in his, they say, come around here, kid, you know, you're all right, we'll blow you out. So they put a bit of heroin in the mix, you know, get the kid stoned. Kid's really whacked, thinks this is great. One day they tell the kid, come around, and kid gets there, and oh, we haven't got any pot left. Kid thinks, oh shit, you know, but we've got some heroin here. If you want to snort some, you don't have to shoot it up, you know, have a snort. So the kid has a snort. That's great, kid loves it, you know. 13-year-old kid, he's a hero now, he's using smack. Sooner or later, you know, the dealer's saying, have some more little, they only need about $25 taste for it. That's only a small amount of heroin.
What, because the kids are so young?
Yeah. Then the dealer says, shoot it up. We all shoot it up, and it's cheaper. Yeah, right. So the kid shoots it up, and they build a 13-year-old kid into a junkie. It wouldn't take long, probably 3 weeks, you could have a kid really hooked on it.
Went to school, didn't go, just used to wag school. Go up to Woolworths, pinch chocolates or something like that, clothes, out of the Woolworths. I got caught once. My mum grounded me for about 2 weeks. And I used to just climb out the bedroom window, go downstairs, go out to my mates, get drunk. This was when I was in 5th class.
How old were you then?
About 11. Getting drunk. Didn't take much to get drunk. And then started breaking into houses, pinching motorbikes. Never pinched cars, just motorbikes and breaking in us. And then started to get a bit older. Started doing more things, started smoking heaps of drugs, started drinking more, started going to clubs.
What sort of drugs were you into?
Oh, just pot, hash, drinking. And then got into speed, started using that. And then from speed I went to heroin. And I was starting to get pretty bad on heroin, starting to break in houses, getting heaps of money. I'd get some heroin and I'd be wondering, well, I'd have it and I'd think, where's the next one coming from? To go out, rob someone, roll someone, get the money, go and get on again. It just got badder and worse and worse.
Australia's streets are more dangerous than they were. We're more likely to be attacked, and if we are, it's probable that the attacker will be young. The main motive is the need for money to pay for drugs or the good life, or simply to survive. In the last 5 years, 600,000 teenagers have dropped out of school. Most have no work and no wages. They're angry, idle and bored. We now see behaviour which shocks and frightens us, even when it isn't actually violent. These kids have become outlaws. They've rejected society's values and rules and adopted their own.
graffiti's just a way of life, you know. If you want to do graffiti, you have to leave home at night about 2 in the morning to go and do a break and enter to get paid. You get caught stealing paint or stealing clothes and that, you get locked up, and then your parents get real upset with you. They don't want to know you, and you get kicked out of home and all this stuff. Your parents ask you, say, what do you do it for? And, you know, you just get into heaps of trouble and you cop a bad name.
You're on the run at the moment?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Cops are after me.
How did that happen?
I got a warrant out for me for malicious damage.
What was that for?
Graffiti.
What did you do?
I was painting over a picture of the Tangara.
And they caught you, did they?
Someone went and lagged on me. Some drop a dime.
So what's ahead of you now?
If cops see me on the street, they'll just pick me up, arrest me, lock me up. Most probably remand me till I get a place to stay.
So you were supposed to report in, were you, and you broke that agreement?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't feel like I've never got enough time.
But you've got nothing to do at the moment, have you?
I'm always busy. I'm always doing stuff like going wasting, meeting my mates, you know, chilling out with the riders or going to Def Jams, you know.
And no time to report in, eh?
No,
So what do you think you'll be doing in 5 years' time?
5 years. I reckon I'll be straight by then.
So you won't be into graffiti then?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I don't think I can get out of it.
So what's going to happen? Do you think you'll be caught?
I think, nah. I've never been picked up when I had a warrant out for me. Cops just can't find me. If the suckers want me, they can get me now. They can't. So I'm shifty, man. I just chill out and I know what I'm doing.
The sort of children that we deal with, the youth, are really from a particular group, a sort of subculture that seems to have formed. They are predominantly children out of work. They come from broken homes. They come from homes which are either one parent or for other reasons, other factors such as alcoholism and in some instances drug-related, the parents don't seem to care. And it's quite difficult often to involve the parent after the child has entered into the process with the police. I suppose you could argue that the police come into the situation as a last resort. When a child comes to our attention, it's probably a little bit too late. But it's from that group of children who are unemployed, are out of work, don't have the access to the education system that other more fortunate children, perhaps more middle-class children, you could say, and as a consequence are the ones who constantly appear and reappear and come to our attention time and time again. What can I use? That expression, children at risk?
There's this place, 24-hour service station out at Casuarina, and that's pretty much the local hangout. You know, a lot of kids will go there from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock on Friday and Saturday nights. You know, when it's dull and boring and no one's got nothing to do, everyone's been out and done all their stuff, you know, run amok in town or, you know, been to parties and that. And you always usually see the same crowd too. You know, all the criminals, all the kids that get into a lot of fights and a bit of mischief, you know. And, you know, kids getting drunk and all that, it's everywhere, even young kids. You see young kids up from 9 years old. And you even see blokes, you know, hanging around with kids, 18-year-old blokes. I really love crime, and that's that's true. That's dead serious. I really loved it. And I know deep down everybody really loves it and everybody wishes they could always do it. And just never get caught, just never get in trouble, just always do it because it's doing what you want. You get everything you want, you can take anything you want. And everything's yours, it's just a matter if you want to take it.
If I wanted some money, I'd just do it. I'd go, right, I'm going out to rob someone. Or something. Or break in a house, pinch a video, or sell it. Look for the money in the house, if there's any money there.
You know, you got no money. What do? You go out stealing to get money. And then when you got money, you laugh and then you spend that money. You know, you go out and party, go to a concert, go in town, and you party up, you spend all that money, and then a few nights later you got no more money. And what do you want to do again? You steal again. You just get more money. It just becomes a really good thing, and you know, life's in the fast lane, you're going really good. You love it. You steal a car one night, and you love cruising around in a car. You know, because you're not old enough to get a licence, and all you want to do is drive. You just want to be grown up.
If only they could grow up, they might grow out of petty crime. But the crucial first step in growing up is getting a job.
It's the thing that makes them feel like adults. It's their entry point into the adult world. It gives them the currency that adults use, and it gives them the respect of adults. But for young people who are not able to get a job, they're in a limbo, I guess, in a sort of a holding pattern, somewhere between being adults and being kids. They're not allowed to be kids. They're not allowed to be adults. They don't have the sorts of things that make adult life real for them. And they really live a sort of a day-to-day existence. They meet other people like themselves, and it's very easy to get trapped into a pattern of drinking, talking, basically purposelessness, and feeling a tremendous sense of injustice.
Compol 312, this is Vic Ham.
Compol 312, send.
Hey, Roger, Compol 312. It's the code 101, number 7.
The crimes of breaking and entering, stealing, car theft and larceny have doubled since 1974. The most common age for crimes against property is 16.
Compol 312, dispatch to you at 1902 hours. Further to its job 97 today's day.
There's no doubt about the close connection between youth unemployment and juvenile crime. A recent study in a juvenile remand centre revealed that 90% of the inmates old enough to work were unemployed at the time of their arrest. 250,000 young Australians are out of work. The longer they're jobless, the greater the chance they'll commit a crime. 60,000 of them have had no work for more than a year. And for the unskilled and undereducated school leaver, the chances of landing a steady job are not improving.
Even with the growth of over 1 million jobs under the Hawke Labor government, we haven't seen any significant improvement for teenagers. So that the belief that all we need is a bit of economic recovery and teenagers will have all their jobs back, it's just not on. The jobs will not return, it's permanent.
Many of the unemployed sink into apathy. The TV, the dog queue, the TV again. But the reaction of others is more dangerous. Packs of young men now roam the streets of our cities. They have the strength of adults and the minds of violent children. They're Bruce Lee one night, Rambo the next. Behind the obvious motive, the need for money, lies another, the desire for revenge.
When I want to set up a mugging, we pick on a businessman usually. Businessman or a yuppie. those rich, trendy blokes. I'll get one of my mates to run in front of the bloke, stay in front of him about 5 metres at the most. Usually I would be behind him, then we'd have about 3 or 4 blokes come behind me, go past him, and one person would yell out, right at the right time he thought was suitable, as we're going past an alleyway, now. He'd yell out that word, or go for it. Something that we'd say, ask him to say when he said, when we're going to mug him. And we'd all jump in, start laying the boots in. One of them would king hit him first.
What's a king hit?
Your hardest punch. So you get your fist, you bring it back as far as you can, then you just swing as hard as you can.
What, in the face?
Yeah. Usually get them about there on the jaw. Either bust their jaw, or the neck will go back so far, it'll pinch a nerve in the back of the neck and knock them out. If it doesn't knock them out, it'll knock them to the ground, and everyone just runs up and starts laying the boots in.
40 to 50 years ago, the problems that occur in the black communities today in the United States were unthinkable. No one thought that the black community would end up where it is today. 50 years ago, say, Harlem was safe. It was easy to walk the streets of any black community. Whites and blacks could walk in safety. What we've seen in those communities is the development now of generations of underclass people, generations of people who live lives of hopelessness, who are left outside of the mainstream, who don't have jobs, who don't have the ordinary kinds of resources to call upon for living their lives. These people have progressively then reached out to deviant lifestyles, reached out to deviant ways of making their way. So we see more and more crime, we see drugs, we see violence at an incredible level. That could easily happen in Australia. We're beginning to see the signs of it already in terms of burglary, in terms of robbery, in terms of even of violence. These things can happen in Australia and are beginning to. And unless we address the problems of crime, unless we address the problems of joblessness, we in Australia will experience, I think, the same problems that are existing in places like Chicago, Washington, New York today.
I was about 13 and a half, 14. I'd meet a few of my friends in town, about 15 or so, and we'd go to a bottle shop, buy some alcohol and things, like everyone would put in, and most of us would have dope on us, and we'd go to like one of our friends' houses, or a park or a river or somewhere. We'd all get drunk and stoned, and then we'd make our way back into town where it's quieting down a little bit, and we'd just walk around. People that give us dirty looks, we'd give them back and then maybe start on them if they didn't start on us, or just go around and just look for the fights, just to fight, man.
So what sort of people would you fight?
Mainly we don't like trendsetters, surfies and stuff. Not many of them do around town, and mainly, just street kids and headbangers and people like that, people in other gangs.
We went in the city one night and we got told there was going to be a big fight at Essendon. So we all got on a train. There would have been probably about 200 of us, at least. And everyone had weapons and that, just on one carriage of a train. And
what sort of weapons would you have had?
Oh, well, I had a flick knife, and a couple of people had guns. Mainly everyone just about had knives and nunchuckers and knuckle busters, baseball bats, poles. Just about it.
So what happened that night? There was 200 on the train?
Yeah, and we were on the way to Essendon when about 20 headbangers come on the train, and they looked at us, and one of my mates walked up there and just went whack, hit one of them. Next thing they know, there was 20, they all jumped in on this bloke. So then most of us ran down to get these headbangers, and one of them pulled out a machete. When he pulled out the machete, everyone just pulled out knives, chains, everything. Just give it to him.
Were there any other passengers on the train when you were doing that?
Nah. There was probably about two, because heaps of people walked up to the carriage and they seen us all had back patches and that on, and they all just louding around on the train, smoking and that. So heaps of people walked up to the train and they changed their minds and went to the next carriage or something like that.
So if you saw someone in the street, what would make you decide to pick on that person?
Well, we could be drunk and aggravated and itching for a fight. Like, might walk past them, give them a nudge, hip and shoulder, knock them over, turn around and just start on them saying, "What'd you walk into me for?" You know, something like that.
And what your mates would also lay into that person?
If everyone was pretty drunk, yeah, they would. But I don't know, if they're just a little bit drunk, no, they'd be just one of them.
And if they did lay into them, say if you were drunk, how long would you beat that person up?
Till his manulator just couldn't move, lying there. I don't know, just till you could just hear him breathe.
Like, we'd just walk down the street. Normal people and that would just be walking past and they're minding their own business, and we'd just attack them for nothing.
Why would you attack them?
I'm not really sure. Just to be tough, I suppose. I'm not too sure. Just used to do it without thinking.
And how badly would you beat those people?
Until blood came. Or until, you know, heaps of people come running over and, you know, they see your face. We just used to run separate ways.
And what, just leave them lying on the ground?
Yeah, just left them there.
I just like to fight in gangs. Sometimes it's all right on your own, but I don't know, just like to fight.
What is it? What is about it that you really like?
I don't know, you might get a bad name for fighting, but you're proud of yourself after, like, even if it wasn't me that was the cause of the fight, it was someone else that wanted to fight me, I'd be proud of myself for doing what I've done to the person. If I've really bashed into him, it's just the thing I like, it's just the blood as well. I like to punch people's faces in, you know. I don't know, it's just the way I am.
An apprenticeship on the street may end here, Poplar House, a high-security juvenile institution in Melbourne. Victorian judges don't imprison children lightly. This place is the end of the road, where a last-ditch attempt is made at reforming kids who are already habitual criminals. It was never an easy job, and it's getting harder.
We've had this year 4 in that have been charged with murder, one of which was reduced to manslaughter. It seems to me that the incidence of boys being brought in here for crimes of violence, it may be just me and my belief or thought, but I really do think that the incidence is increasing. I mean, initially it was burglaries, car theft, that type of thing. Now it seems increasingly they're coming in with crimes of violence, plus car theft and burglary. But burglary and theft, you could reasonably say, are the minor charges, and it sounds terrible, but they seemingly are the minor charges compared with armed robbery, murder, attempted murder, manslaughter, and so forth.
We're finding kids committing offences like robbery with violence, offences where kids are breaking into houses and committing sexual offences on other children asleep in beds, things like that, which are more premeditated, more serious than maybe kicking a letterbox or something like that when you're out at night with the boys, a sort of mischief-type pranks that we're getting up to in the past. Those things still continue, of course, but other offences are more serious, involve more violent attacks, more deliberate enterprises to achieve certain goals, certain aims, rather than a spur-of-the-moment type of offence.
What sort of crimes have you been involved in?
Been involved in kidnap, malicious woundings, about 100 assaults or more, car thefts, theft from shops, possession and use of amphetamines, just drunk and disorderly. That's about it.
How much do you actually want to hurt those people?
Oh, just enough to let them know that, you know, what I can do, and let myself know that I can do better.
How good is better?
Well, enough to do, like, better would be to kill someone, but enough damage would be to put them in hospital.
You've killed someone, haven't you?
Yeah.
Against veteran offenders like those, young as they are, society must be protected. As juvenile crime increases, there's more and more talk in the pubs or in the parliament of harsher punishments, longer sentences, stricter regimes. But the evidence is clear. It doesn't work for adults, and it doesn't work for kids. The longer they stay in places like this, the more likely it is they'll return. It's a fact well known to the magistrates, the welfare workers, the police, and the politicians who have to deal with the problem day by day. But alternative punishments like community service seem too soft to many of us. We want them taught a lesson. The trouble is that the lessons they learn here are not the ones we want them taught.
There's a lot of kids inside that aren't criminals and that are mixing with criminals and learning how to be criminals in there, making acquaintances with people that they'll see later because they've got themselves into the situation now.
I went to 3 juvenile institutions, Marsden Boys Home, John Oxley and Wilson. In Marsden, I learnt how to steal cars, break bones, everything like that. In John Oxley, I learned how to do a lot of break and enters in the right way without destroying half the place. In Wilson, I learnt how to make picks and pick locks and stuff like that the proper way.
In Minda, they're supposed to teach you not do it again, and you're supposed to leave Minda with a positive attitude that you're not going to do it again. You know, you're going to go out, make a new start of your life, not do it again. But in Minda, you get taught how to do more crimes. You get taught how to get into cars, break into houses. Like, I went in there not knowing how to do anything, not even knowing how to pick a lock or get into a car. I come out knowing how to break into cars, houses, the works, you know.
When you first come in, you go in, you walk down, and they bring you down through here, down through admin. You just go in, you sit down, everyone looks over at you. You're really quiet the first day. You don't talk to no one, you just sit there and you're thinking, oh, I'm committed, I'm locked up. And you just, so many things running through your mind, you don't know what to think. And then one of them will walk over, you know, ask you what's your name, what are you in here for, what did you do? And you tell them, and then I'll probably sit there and go, yeah, choice, you know. Was it fun, you know? You know, you just sit there and you talk to them, and you ask them what they done. And they say, oh, I pinch cars, get in a chase with coppers, go looking for them. You've been for a while. And then you go to your room, you come to your room, and you just sit in your room, you lay back in your bed and you just stare at the walls. You're just thinking, you know, oh, 6 months, it's a long time to do. Have your shower, go out. You're eating in front of people and you feel really weird eating in front of them, like they're all sitting there, pigging out, you know, not worrying about you. You're trying to eat cool in front of them and you just can't eat, it just feels so different. A couple of days, you're all right. People get discharged, they go out. They're out for 3-4 days, straight back in again. come in there and think they're really cool, tell us what they've done. And just so many people get discharged, so many people come back because they've just got nowhere to go, nothing to do. So they go out and start pinching again.
You're getting out in 2 days' time.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Great, I can't wait. It's gonna be a choice. Can't wait to get out. That's all I've been thinking about from Yalka Middle. I'd be sitting there, I'd be saying 2 months to go, and then I'd say a month to go, and then I'd be counting down the days and the hours. Just wake up in the morning, you have your shower, you just can't wait till 9:30 to go to bed. You come to your room and go to sleep, and wake up to another day. That's a day off your committal. You just can't wait.
Hi. Ready to go?
Yeah.
Is your mother picking you up?
Yeah. Can't wait.
I bet you thought today would never come.
No.
What are your chances of getting a job?
No, not too good. Not now.
Why is that?
No, criminal record.
So what will happen, do you think, when you can't get work?
Probably start stealing again.
I think we're going to have a greater increase in the crime problem, and then we're going to have to deal with it as a crime problem. Now, that's going to be difficult because people, I think, are going to focus on the crime part rather than on the job part of the equation. So we'll see people, for example, saying we need more police, we need more prisons, we need more punishment. Well, we're going to need better police, we're going to need more courts, we're going to need better prisons, but we're also going to need more jobs. And it's important to keep in focus what the problem is. And I would say that if we can address the job problem, we can perhaps circumvent some of these other kinds of problems that will come along, including the crime problem.
Come on, keep moving. Keep moving. Come on, faster than that. We haven't got all day. Come on, you're like an old woman.
There are ways to break the cycle. Only the most extreme cases are beyond redemption. In this wilderness camp in the Northern Territory, the task of rehabilitation has been broken down into 2 stages. The first is to make these boys employable. The second is to make sure they're actually employed. The old-fashioned methods that armies used for centuries to turn recruits into soldiers work just as well here. Discipline, hard physical training, teamwork.
Keep it going. A good one, Lloydie.
The most important goal is to turn self-loathing into self-respect.
The wilderness camp, I mean this from my heart, I'll say this first up. It's the best thing that could happen to me. It's the best thing that has happened to me in my life.
Lift your legs up. Get up there.
Reasons why being, it's really brought me up over the last 6 months. I've really grown up. When I first came out here, I had a bad attitude. I was an arsehole. And I hated the world. I thought that the world hated me.
Before I went to the wilderness work camp, I was in a sort of situation doing drugs, stealing. I used to steal cars, motorbikes, videos.
Keep going. You got about 2 kilometers to go. We'll get there. If we keep stopping, we'll turn around and go back.
When I got there, it taught me to do a good day's work, whereas before I went in there, I used to just sit around with my mates, getting stoned, drinking, just doing nothing, hanging around shopping centres. And then once I got there, I saw that I could do a hard day's work, and it just makes you feel really good.
Do a little while and then you realise how good it is for you. Not just in your head, deep down, it really changes you. The way you feel about things. You start caring for things. Start respecting people. You're not the only person in the world. There's a lot of other people. Meet people halfway.
But all this would be of little use if at the end of their time here, they went back on the dole. The camp actively seeks work for each boy at the end of his sentence. It's a pilot scheme. There's no statistical evidence on how many former inmates reoffend, but the camp has already transformed the lives of some of them at least.
So how long have you been out of the wilderness camp now?
I've been out for about 10 months. Yeah, 10 months.
And what about getting back into crime?
No, no way.
Why not?
So I don't need to anymore. I can work. I've had various jobs. I've worked on prawn trawlers, mackerel fishing boats, the Collegius. He's on his way up in the fishing world, and worked at janitoring schools, watering, maintenance and repairs.
And what about drugs?
I haven't touched them since I've been out.
Why has it made such a difference to your life?
I just found that I could work and that I didn't need to steal. And it was just a bad situation to be in. But I couldn't see that until I eventually got out.
There are still casual, unskilled jobs to be had, especially in the frontier climate of the Northern Territory. But the best chance of a permanent solution is a permanent job. And in the 1990s, that will mean doing more than instilling a short, sharp dose of the work ethic. Prevention is better than cure. There's a growing conviction that the task must be tackled in the schools. Work skills and work experience must be taught before these children hit the job market. There are initiatives scattered around the country which provide models of how to bridge the gap between school and work. This training centre in the Northern Territory aims to give its students a real fighting chance.
We have to be providing young people with the opportunity to be flexible, to adapt, to cope with change. And you don't do that by sitting them down in a very rigid way at school and offering them a very traditional, rigid range of subjects. This scheme, which is a pilot scheme and has been going for just over 6 months, is a good example of breaking down some of the structures, some of the barriers. We have students working 3 days in a school on their conventional subjects, and then 2 days a week working alongside apprentices in a work situation. And the feedback that we're receiving from students, firstly, is very, very positive. Many of them are saying that they're motivated for the first time. They can see a connection between the maths back in the classroom and the maths required to measure out a piece of metal. Feedback from parents, again, is very, very positive in that they're reporting that their children, their sons and daughters, are coming home at night, again, motivated. They can see a purpose in being at school. They can see a purpose in the training that they're undertaking. And I guess equally as important, they can see some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. They feel that this is going to give them an edge.
Right, as you can see, Peter's already marked the patch, putting bearing blue on there first and then marking around the patch. We'll now he's drilled the 4 holes, we can now jigsaw.
We have in Australia today examples of how the senior years of high school can be run and should be run. For example, in the ACT we have the senior colleges. They do an excellent job. You go to those colleges and you see flexibility in curriculum, in teaching, in timetabling. Students can take courses in welding on the one hand, they can take courses in mathematics on the other. And that's how it should be. But of course, schools like these cost money. You can see what happens when the money isn't being spent. You can go to other schools in Australia where both the academic and the less academic students are just dumped into the one classroom. And this has terrible impact on the morale and on the discipline in the school. and makes life pretty miserable both for the academic and the non-academic kids and for their teachers.
Ironically, Canberra's population is mostly middle class. Its youth unemployment rate lower than average. Most of these kids would do well enough in a conventional school. But in areas where the need is greatest, the industrial towns, the big city suburbs, the schools are allowed to do little for their less academic students. In some states, governments are winding back what progress has been made, cutting back on subject choice, re-emphasising academic subjects, increasing class sizes. It's being done to save money, but is it a saving we can really afford?
I don't like to think of the cost involved as being a terrible problem. I like to think of it as being a great challenge. I think the point is that this is an investment in Australia's future. If we put the money into the schools so that we are able to cater for a whole range of students, then Australia as a nation is able to do a whole range of things that it wasn't able to do in the past. And this is where we have to go.
Australia's young people are used to being told that they're the nation's #1 priority. They may even be getting tired of it. The Prime Minister told them back in 1985, when a new deal was launched to a fanfare of frothy rock. Priority 1. It promised a lot: allowances, apprenticeships, traineeships, job creation and work experience schemes. This was to be an all-out effort to put Australian youth to work. But youth employment didn't stay priority 1 for long. The need for public spending cuts took its place. The target was to create 70,000 traineeships by 1988. Only 11,000 were achieved. Job Start, a scheme to subsidise wages in the private sector, cut by 45%. The Community Employment Program, which offered paid work experience for up to a year, scrapped in 1987. The unemployment benefit for under 18s, abolished 1987. Since 1985, government spending on employment and training cut by 42%.
Priority 1 was evidence of the government's commitment to do something about young people. They did realise that the teenage labour market was in a state of permanent collapse and that something had to be done. And they tried to reform education, income support, and do the right thing. It was a long-term objective, but governments need short-term results. People wanted short-term results. And despite some of the progressive achievements of it, the most disadvantaged kids continue to miss out. They're the ones who still leave school early. They're the last ones to stay at school with the increased retention rates. They're still without a job because they don't have the qualifications. They don't get access to the new traineeship system or the established apprenticeship system because they're the last ones to be taken on by most employers. And government programs of support for young, unemployed, disadvantaged kids, such as work experience and other support programs, have been largely abolished, so that 5 years after Priority 1, 4 years after Priority 1, the most disadvantaged are no better off.
Back in Australia's industrial heartland, the prospects are as bleak as ever. To earn their meagre allowance, young people are compelled to prove that they're searching for work, but no one's compelled to provide it. They're encouraged to do short-term training courses, but no one, least of all the kids themselves, expects that a 6-week course will lead anywhere but back to the street.
There's not much of an idea what's going on. I mean, and there's no way
there's a solution to it. There's no set solution. I mean, it's just going to keep going on. There's no way you can stop now because, I mean, suddenly there aren't going to be these new schemes for kids to be able to work if they haven't got good grades. And what is there to do after you've left school?
What sort of things are you hoping to do when you leave school?
Get a job as a mechanic.
What do you think the chances are?
I wouldn't know. As soon as I get my school certificate, I'll probably leave from Marilla and go somewhere pretty far.
Why do you want to get away?
This place is a dump, really. There's nothing much here.
They leave home to look for work. But for some, the end of the journey is here, a life where the only work is searching for a home. One more member of the underclass, permanently unemployed. Many of them cannot remember the time when their parents had work. Most have never worked themselves. Dependence on welfare can become a habit, passed on from one generation to the next. And now these children are having children of their own.
Hey. Get the bloody hell off me, yeah? Hello? Where the hell have you been? Queensland. What doing? Locked up. That'll be right. What for?
I think I might be pregnant at the moment to my boyfriend, Spider, but I'm not too sure. I have to go and have a checkup.
What happens if you find out you're pregnant?
Well, that's what Spider wants. He wants us to go in and get that claim for de facto relationship and all that stuff. And we were engaged at one stage, and he'd like to get engaged again.
But you say at the moment he's your ex-boyfriend.
And my ex-boyfriend, we haven't quite worked up to getting back together. He just wants me to get pregnant to him at the moment and go claim there's de facto stuff from Social Security.
What does that mean?
It means
money-wise?
we'll get $400 a fortnight for a de facto relationship.
Do you think that's worth going through all the pregnancy to do that?
I'd like to have a kid. I mean, Spider's already got a kid. And he's 18 months old and he really loves the kid. I mean, he sees him every weekend. But he wants another one and he wants a girlfriend, a wife to stick together so he can have a family.
I just want to go back home, live a normal life if I want to. But it's a bit hard for me at the moment because I'm pregnant again. And I know how Mum's going to take to it. But me and Andrew are settling down now. We're getting our agreements worked out and everything. We might be getting engaged. I hope so. No, I just hope. Because he picked out a wedding dress already. And he's picked out a ring. No, Mum's starting to adjust to him and everything. So right at home, I'm starting to accept things. But I can never really turn to home much because I'm only a straight kid. I'll always be a straight kid. That's what the court said.
The court said that, did they?
Yeah.
And how long have you been a street kid?
2 years now. Been locked up 8 times. Been in court 12 times.
How old are you?
I'm 13 now. Some people don't believe my age, but it is. I'm only 13.
They're young when they hit the streets, but they don't stay young for long. They may have no home, no job, no adult place in the world. But they're old enough to need companionship, to love or make love, old enough to give birth. The chances are that their babies too will grow up to be nobody's children. For 200 years, Australia has been a place where the hopeless from other nations could find new hope. But for too many of our children now, the dreams of success are turning sour, and this is a failure for all of us.
When I get big, I want to be a racing car driver. I want to be a hairdresser when I grow up. I want to work in a shop. When I grow up, I want to be a police lady. When I leave school, I'm going to be a nurse.
When I grow up, I want to be a dancing teacher. I want to be a bank clerk or a bank manager.
I'd like to be a doctor or a journalist when I grow up.
I'd like to be a vet.
I want to be in the Air Force when I grow up.
Now, for viewers who'd like information or assistance, here are the telephone numbers of appropriate welfare agencies in each state or territory. In New South Wales, 02 360 3000, 02 818 5555, and 008 42 5288. In Victoria, 03 696 1411 and 03 525 4100. In Queensland, 07 369 2222, 07 227 5999, and 008 17 7135. In South Australia, 272 1222 and 08 211 8466. In Western Australia, 09 325 1111 and 09 328 6755. In Tasmania, 002 30 7110, 002 29 2101 and 002 34 8948. In the Northern Territory, 008 01 9116 and 089 85 3538. In the ACT, 062 47 3540 and 062 57 1515. And finally, the national number 008 25 1008. We wish to advise that language contained in tonight's special edition of Couchman may offend some viewers.
Good evening. Well, we've just seen Nobody's Children, and if you've watched both parts last night and tonight, you're probably feeling a bit like I am right now. it's a very powerful statement, isn't it? But I think what we need to be doing now, anyway, is to start thinking about what do we do about this? I mean, we can't just go on turning our backs on these kids and the kinds of problems that have been exposed so starkly in these two programs. But where do you start with something like this? Well, we could have got together any number of experts here tonight. There are plenty of them. But I thought we should talk to young people themselves. Nobody ever sits down to listen to what they have to say about these things. So this is a start. I've just watched the programs here with 150 or so young people who've come from all kinds of backgrounds, and I want this to be a forum for them tonight. They're the experts. But look, just be warned, you may not like some of the things they have to say. You might find some of the solutions they suggest are imperfect. Perhaps they don't even have solutions at all, who knows, but let's at least listen to them. But I've also asked to come along as a kind of a special guest tonight, Brian Burdekin. He conducted the Royal Commission into homeless children, and he spent, well, nearly 2 years of his life listening to evidence from young people. Well, look, let's just talk about what is obviously the underlying, or one of the underlying problems that really came out in those documentaries. And it seems to me that's the breakdown of family life, the breakdown of the relations between you and your parents. Now, why is it happening? Can any of you suggest why it's happening? Yeah,
Poverty?
Just here.
Poverty? No money in the home or anything like that. You know, it makes it pretty hard.
So poverty's obviously a factor, you
Yeah.
say. What, and that sort of interferes with the relationship between, well, for instance, you and your parents?
Yeah, and alcohol and stuff like that.
What's your own situation? Can you tell us about?
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. What about some of the others? Anybody else? Yes, over here.
Lack of communication between the parents and the children.
Yes. Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, the parents don't give time to the children if they've got a problem or anything like that. The parents just say, oh, you'll get over it. Well, they listen to half the problem and they don't help the kids sort the whole problem out.
Are you talking from personal experience?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, your parents just don't listen to you, in other words.
The parents I'm living with now, yes, they do. But the parents beforehand, no, they wouldn't.
Well, what happened? Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, my parents who I was living with never listened to me, so I just took off and run, got in heaps of trouble, ended up in Leighton for 8 months. Then my other parents come along, got me out, and now I've sorted myself out.
Yeah. When you say they wouldn't listen to you, what sort of things were you trying to say to them?
Just like, like when I got suspended from school, I tried to tell them I got suspended from school. They wouldn't listen to me. They go, you know, you shouldn't have done this and that. They would never give me the time to explain why I'd done it, you know?
You couldn't explain to them why you got suspended from school
Yeah.
and what had happened. Do any of the others of you understand that sort of thing?
Yeah.
You do?
I think a lot of it's a feeling of power. They think maybe because they've had a hard day, they can do that because that's their child and they support that kid. And that gives them a right to do that.
That's their own property. That's what they
So,
think.
in other words, so you mean
Property.
young people, kids are property?
Yeah, that's their property. Nobody touches it. Nobody's allowed to belt it but them.
And their investments too.
Or touch it.
Investments.
Investments? What do you mean investments?
See how well they can do for themselves and their family, what they can do, be proud.
Well, children can be their scapegoats. You know, everyone's kind of got a scapegoat to beat and pummel. It could be a teddy bear, or could be a kid, could be a kid at school. You know.
So what you're saying then is that there's just a breakdown in communication between parents and their kids in a lot of cases. I mean, we're not talking about every family here, are we? There's a breakdown in communication, and you're saying that very strongly.
Yeah,
And the problem is that your parents aren't taking time to listen to you or to try and understand what you were saying.
I see some parents, I mean, they'll get married and then they'll get divorced and then they'll get remarried. And I mean, maybe that other family, maybe that woman or man has got a family of their own, and maybe that your father or mother feels that whoever they're in love with is their family is more important than yourself.
And you're an outcast in your own
Yeah,
family.
you feel like you're a loss. I mean, you got no one, so
So you leave.
you leave, and you look for somewhere where you belong,
And someone who loves you.
and that's where you turn to the streets.
What, you leave because you're looking for someone who'll love you? Is that basically
You
it?
feel that you're not wanted.
Yeah.
You
And
feel
you'd like to be loved.
Is that what happened to you? You seem to be talking from personal experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I left home when I was 12. I'm only 16 now, but I left home when I was 12.
And at first when I was at home, I thought it was my fault because of my mother, because she turned to dope, she turned to drugs, my own mother, you know. And then my 8-year-old brother got onto it because she was doing it, and so did my 12-year-old brother. And so my boyfriend...
And how about you?
Oh, I tried it, but it made me sick.
So you've escaped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I left and I went to Sydney, and I ended up in a place called King's Cross in Sydney. And I lived up there for 3 years on the streets.
So you've learned how to survive the hard way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Over here, down the bottom here.
I disagree with it because I have 2 children and 1 on the way. And both fathers have been domestic violence, and I'd like my children to be brought up to be loved by me and whoever I may end up with.
Yeah, what sort of relationship did you have with your own parents?
With my parents?
Yes.
I was adopted out, and I was kicked out of home at 15, and I'm now 22.
Well, do you think it's true to say that basically what all of you kids want is your parents to love you?
I wanted them to love me, sure, but I mean, I'd never go back home, and I've never regretted going back home.
Do you think you're going to be able to get it right? You've now got children of your own, you're a parent.
Oh, if I caught any bastard trying to screw my kids,
No,
I'd
but
kill
do you
'em.
think you can give your kids the love and security that your parents couldn't give you? You obviously think it's terribly important.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think it's terribly important that I'll bring my kids up the way I always wanted to be brought up.
What about some of the rest of you?
My grandmother, she said to me, you know, that she loved me and that, but she didn't really. And she took me to a children's home, and since then I have never regretted going home. They have given me the love, the security and everything else that I needed. Yeah. And some children's homes are good. We need more.
Yeah, well now we're getting to talking about solutions here, and that's I'm glad you raised it because I was leading to that point. What are we to do about these homes where you're not getting the love and security that you want? Just down here, sorry. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Like what we're watching tonight, where the government's, you know, the priority won in 1985, and then find out 2 years later that, you know, 45% of this money got cut out and 45% of that money got cut out, and they're, you know, giving us money and then with one hand, and then they're taking it out with the other hand. So where are the kids supposed to go then? You know, they've got no faith in no one. You know, they haven't got any faith at home because they're getting bashed and raped and shit like that. And they've got no faith out in the streets because, you know, the government's turned around and, like I said, you know, giving money out and then taking it away. And, like, we're supposed to be looking up to our law, which is another joke. It's just an outright joke, looking up to the law, because the law sees some kid in the street, they virtually go past and kick them. You know, don't pick them up and, you know, say, look, you know, I can find you somewhere to live. They'll just turn around and they'll just kick them while they're down.
Yeah, so you get problems at home.
Yeah,
you then have problems with the law.
The only security that they've got is the way that they can survive on the streets. That's why kids go around bashing other kids.
Okay, so but look, what are we to do about it? You see, the community needs you to tell us what the hell to do.
Yeah.
What do we do? Tell us. Hey? Up the back.
Time after time we are telling us what to do. Build
we need
more
long-term
houses for
accommodation.
kids.
Yeah,
Build more houses for
not
kids.
just refuges, not crisis situations. We need medium to long-term accommodation, and not just for people like us here, like disabled people, everything like that. You know, they spend $439 million on Parliament House, and what about us that are being, you know, abused all the time and stuff like that, and living in the streets?
Yeah, but wait a minute, you've got a problem, haven't you? If you get a 12 or a 13-year-old, even a 10-year-old, who's in a home that's just not working, where the relationship between the parents and them is just broken down, are you going to just put them into a house that the government's built with...
No, it's like there's staff and all that kind of stuff. It's like 1 out of 4 women are incest victims, you know, and if there's no refuges for them to go into, they go into in Leighton. You know, that stinks. There should be, you know, other accommodation.
Up here, yeah, up the back there.
Well, what about all the young kids, right, who grow up without any parents? How are you meant to help them? Like they go through in and out institutions all their life. They end up out at the big house.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, how are you meant to help them?
Well, obviously institutions aren't the answer. What did you think of the suggestion or the solution that's being tried in Wynnum in Queensland. We saw it in the film there, where if you get kids where things are going hopelessly wrong at home, there's a system of volunteer families, and they can go and live in those.
Do you have to go to Queensland to do it, or what?
Beg your pardon?
Do you have to go to Queensland to get that type of counselling?
This is the problem. It exists in Wynnum in Queensland. But are you saying that that's a good idea or not? That's what I'm interested in.
It's a good idea, but have they got any of them places that they got up in Queensland down here?
You need them all over the place.
What's the government doing about it?
At the back there.
Doing about it. He's putting up signs saying free new...
Sorry, Dwayne, just at the back first.
You're saying that you're asking us what solutions can we come up with. Why should you ask the kids what they want when you've got the governments that come up with all these big ideas and then they just drain them down? It's not up to the kids.
But surely it is up to you to tell us what you think the answers are.
It's not our money.
How many times I have been asked what I
The
want
government's
to do,
spending more money on themselves than what they are on the kids.
Sorry, I didn't catch
How many times
that.
I've been asked what I want to do and where I want to go and what place I want to live, and no one doesn't fuck all about it because I had nowhere to go, and I had so many people say, what do you want to do, where do you go? And I went to refuge to refuge to refuge, and they just, after your 6 weeks is up, off you go. You're nowhere else. You've got to go to another refuge.
Yeah, but one of the things I think we're starting to find now that a whole system of refuges is like a band-aid solution. It gives you a bed for a night and you end up doing a circuit of the refuges.
Everyone's treated exactly the same. And they're all treated like robots, and that's what the thing is. People don't want to be treated exactly the same as everybody else. They want to be treated as individuals. And that's what people need.
But how important is it for you to have a family that you can call your own? I mean, given that your own family breaks up for various reasons, how important is it to have a family thing?
And Peter, you can have your friends.
Sorry, just here.
Well, what about in Dandenong, we've got youth housing flats, and then we keep applying for more, and then the Ministry of Housing say there's got to be sort of like for every 17 beds, 1 workers, and then the people who fund our workers said there's got to be 20 beds for each worker, and then we're sort of like stuck between a rock and hard place. We've got to have 20 beds before we can get another worker, but the Ministry of Housing will not give us any more flats because we're supposed to only have 17 beds to each worker. And then, like, we could, if we got another 100 flats tomorrow, we could accommodate people in them.
Yeah.
But the Ministry of Housing and the people who pay our workers do not talk.
Okay, up the back there, somebody wants to say something.
If John Kane and Bob got off their asses and do what they're meant to do, maybe you might see a lot more youth get off the bloody streets.
Yeah.
But look, I'm going to try and get a view from Brian Burdigan in a moment, because he spent about 17 months or so listening to a lot of these problems and trying to find solutions to them. And I think in the past, we've tried the answer where we simply say to the government, throw a lot of money at this and you'll solve it. And I think throwing a lot of money at it hasn't worked. Has it, Brian Burdigan?
No, I think a number of people have identified, I think, one of the major solutions that's got to happen, and that is that there's got to be medium and long-term accommodation. A number of people have indicated that crisis refuges, frankly, don't solve the problem, and they don't. They're a band-aid situation. I'd agree with the people who've identified poverty and abuse as major problems. They are major problems. And the thing that concerned us most was that it kept coming through that adults felt that if the kids wouldn't have run away from home, there wouldn't be a problem. And I think this is where something like this is very important, because our adult community's got to understand that in many cases home is not worth being at or has disintegrated, and it's just not an option for you know, kids who are homeless to go home. But that message hasn't got through to a lot of people in our community yet, and I think that's critical, because I don't think until the people in our community understand that, the government leaders are going to feel pressure to respond to the problem. The way our society works, the environment's a good example. A lot of people get concerned about the environment, it becomes an issue, and governments do things. And a lot of people are saying, we've got to protect the environment, so we've got a fit place for our children to live. Well, maybe it's time we adults in the community woke up that we've got to protect the children, so it's worth having the environment in 20 years' time for them to live in a decent standard.
Yeah, but you're saying the environment, right, but people have known that there's been kids on the streets for years and years and years, and what have they been doing about it? Nothing. Now the ozone layer's starting to go. They're doing something about it. But what about the kids? They've been there longer.
They've been in the queue.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have to say here that Brian Burdigan spent 17 months listening to
Some of us
people...
have been on the streets
but
for like 10 years.
listening to people like you to try and come up with some answers.
Maybe the youth might have some bloody houses, eh?
Yeah. But now listen, you're saying, OK, it's up to the government to provide money to set up a whole lot of houses and flats and so on.
How the hell can we get the bloody houses and the flats for the youth if the government doesn't give us the bloody money? Now you tell us that one.
Well, aren't you in fact simply setting up a whole lot more institutions if you basically just set up a whole lot of houses?
No, we're not. It's just run by the bloody youth.
Yes. Then you give them counselling.
Live in it, run the whole organisation. Like they make the day-to-day decisions about everything. The workers only sort of like get the guidelines off the people that live in the flats. Like our worker, we tell her what to do, what directions we feel that she should be taken. We run the show, in other words.
It's not as if you can get housing on the private rental market, you know, because that's just impossible.
Sure, but listen, you all started off by telling me how absolutely important it was to you to have the love and security that parents should be able to give you. Now, if you set up a whole system of flats and houses, you provide a roof for kids, but you don't give them the love and security that you tell me you all want. How do you do that?
The people who are living with it...
Just wait a minute, one at a time, one at a time. So I want to come to somebody over here.
There is a system that worked. My family broke up when I was 7, and I've been living as ward of the state ever since, until recently, excuse me. And you say don't create institutions. I totally agree. The thing is, we work in a situation where they didn't want to create institutions, so they put, say, a group of 5 kids when they were young with what they call a set of cottage parents together, and they put them in an average suburban house. Now, the people next door don't know our situation. The people over the road don't know it. We go to school. Unless we tell our school friends, they don't know.
Yeah.
So,
but can you feel that those cottage parents... I mean, they're being paid by the state to look after you,
but the cottage parents don't have children of their own. They, we treat as their own. Everything is ours, everything's theirs. We work as a normal family situation, and no one can ever tell the difference. And I would rather have lived with them than stay in my own family situation. That's a situation that's worked perfectly. The group that set it up are doing it, or starting to do it all over the place. The problem is the money to get more houses, to put more of the younger kids, and they do have situations for older people, into the houses, and you solve the situation.
So in other words, you're saying what you think we need is to set up a big system of these so-called cottage parents where you get a roof over your head, you get a family to go to, you get a family unit to go to, and hopefully you get cottage parents...
If you get the kids, a lot of families break up when the children are young.
Another one?
So if you get...
That's correct.
Well, speak from personal experience, can't you? You can't. I was lucky enough... That's right, and I was lucky enough to get them when I was young, and that's how it turned out.
No, we're talking about different things. You're 22, you're talking about the young people, the kids of 7 and 8. Yeah, right. So he's suggesting that the answer is that maybe you should have been able to move into a system where you could have had a cottage home.
2 parents at home that love me. I've got no trouble with that.
So you want to say something?
Also, there's
Listen, we just want to hear this, please.
Also, there's places around, like there is in Queensland, with families that will take other people in, and it is in Melbourne.
Yes.
So there are places around like that, you know, that's in Queensland.
So
here in
are you
Melbourne.
saying that this is the sort of solution we should be reaching for?
For
Setting
some
up a
people,
system
yeah.
of families that will
people,
take in kids who need help? Yep, up here at the back here.
Maybe if you stop spending money on things like just a shop or shopping centres and actually used your brains out there for those kids that have been living there and bash the shit out of someone just for a lousy couple of dollars. Maybe the government should just listen to people, that kids on the street that are working their guts off to try and make something of their lives, and the government have got the money there, but are just spending it on shit.
Yeah, but listen, we've got to work out how the government should spend this money. You know, as I said, Dwayne.
Someone's saying this is a nuclear-free zone. Oh, this is a bicentennial project. Get lost. What is this bullshit? They're all fooling themselves.
But listen, no, you've had a pretty good say. I want to hear from some of the other people who are trying to have a go. Yes.
What she's saying, that's all.
When you said before about if you get housing, it doesn't solve the love problem, don't you think it's more realistic to get the kids to a place so they're not out in the cold, they're not out in the rain, and then you can start working on the other things later?
Well, what do you all think?
Fucking program you showed us, right? And this bloke working 17 months. And what's that supposed to do? Is the government supposed to say, oh, you know, shit, you've done this program, now do something about it? The program's not going to do nothing. He's worked 17 months to make this program, and they're going to say stiff shit. They're not going to worry about it.
Well, so you feel totally cynical that nothing
He's
will
had
come
programs for years going on about young kids. He hasn't done anything about it.
How do you counter that sort of...
done about these young kids?
I mean, young people have had so much promised to them for so long, haven't they, Brian Burdick?
Well, if I can answer that, you're quite right. I mean, we can make recommendations. I can't force governments to do anything about them, but I think what's interesting that's coming out tonight is that a number of programs that we've said ought to get a lot of funding, like the ones that have been mentioned, where there's community housing. Those are the programs that I believe it's quite likely that governments will decide to fund more instead of just setting up more crisis refuges.
5 years, 10 years, 20 years' time.
But just wait a minute, wait a minute. Let's get this clear. Let's get this clear. Yes, down here, please. Down here, please. Down here, please.
I was in a children's home, and they did sweet FA for me until I moved into a certain children's home, which I'm in now, and they have given me love and support and everything else. And no matter how old you are, there should be places around for people like that, you know, who love and get what they need. I had nothing. I was a school kid who did, you know, little snotty-nosed school kid.
Sure, but he talked about he's living with a cottage family, and I'm asking you all, is this a solution?
I live with a cottage family.
I live with a cottage family, and the people who ran the bloody place are more screwed up than us.
Yeah, exactly, but I was fortunate.
They used to steal our clothes, you know. I mean, great parents, you know, they really love you.
I was fortunate.
So in other words, you're saying you're not necessarily finding the answer if you set up a system of
I was fortunate enough
cottage...
to get somebody who was good to me. I was into a lot of, like, stealing and petty thieving and that until now I am an apprentice locksmith. I have a pretty, you know, responsible job. Now, why don't we get other people, why can't we get everybody else to get some more places for young people, you know? It's not good. People have been waiting for years.
Yeah, but what sort of places are you talking about? That's what I'm trying to get clear. Just a moment, would you let her answer, please?
You get youth varieties, you get youth hostels, you get a lot of things. Whatever the youth want, the youth should get, because they've been waiting for a long time to get what they want.
Yeah, but that's what I'm asking you. What do young people want? Listen, will you let her answer, please? What do young people want?
Young people want a place to stay with love and caring. Older people want a place to stay with love and caring and things which will benefit them, not just a place to stuff them up.
Right up the very back there.
When me and my sister got tossed out of our place, we had no one to turn to. Who says there's people to go to and there's all these people that are going to help you out? Do you know who helped us out? The Salvation Army. They go scumming on the streets for money to support kids. Not the government, the Salvation Army that are trying to make $1. They don't get paid for it, but they gave us about $800 to move into a flat, furniture and everything.
They're the ones who are
and
helping
the government
youth,
sit on their ass and say,
right.
we'll help you, we'll help you. It's a load of bullshit if you ask me.
Okay, look, two down here. Take the floor. You've been trying hard to say something down here.
Maybe the cottage system works for the younger ones, but for people like Tracy, maybe the government could supply a block of flats or something, and they could run it. The young people like Tracy could run the block of flats with help from the youth workers, and they'll get security. And if all the young people that are in the block of flats were homeless, they could give each other support in it, and they'll get the love.
So in other words, you're saying that Tracy, having had a real bad family situation herself, is going to understand the problems of other people. And if you give her accommodation, put her in charge of her...
No, not like that. I mean that all the people that live in the flats, you know, support each other, and they get support from the workers or whoever's going to help them manage the flats as well.
Are you saying then that, look, forget trying to find a substitute love, security family and let you give each other support?
Well, then friends should care and love you.
Yeah.
Friends can be
Friends
more
are the only
important.
thing that count to us in the streets. It's just friends.
Yeah.
Because you can't have a family there for you.
If you didn't have any friends, you'd be nowhere.
So you're saying friends, but you can't find a substitute family. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, friends are virtually the majority of the thing. If you haven't got any friends, where are you? You don't have nobody and nothing.
Yeah. But we're talking about one possible solution where you'd perhaps try and set up a whole lot of volunteer families, as they've done in Wynnum, or cottage families. Is that not? Are you saying you'd be better off with self-support from each other than you would by trying to find a substitute family? Just a moment. Let her finish. Will you let her finish, please?
I'd much rather stay with my friends than find a substitute family.
Okay. Now, what did you want to say?
Nothing's been done about it.
She's our next generation.
She's after us.
Yeah, sure. Nothing's being done about it, but I'm trying to find out what we should be doing, you see.
The youth
Why should we tell
Peter,
you, man?
why don't you tell us?
You say what the government do. You say, what can the government do? It's what will the government do, man?
Yeah.
You know, we're coming out with all these things, and you're saying, okay. Well,
All right.
Give us a solution.
Okay, you're all saying the government has to do something. What should the government do?
Yeah.
You tell
Why ask us? All these people are the people who are being screwed around. What do you think they can solve their own bloody problems?
But what do you mean? What? Will you just a moment, please? Just hold it a moment, please, so we can hear what each person is saying. Now, what do you mean? Why ask us? You're the very people who understand the problems.
But you keep saying,
that's precisely why we're asking you now.
And then you do nothing.
Yeah, and this guy over here said maybe the government will fund us. What was it, 1985 or something? Hawke said all the poverty will be gone by 1990. Look at us.
You got 6 months,
still
man.
Here. What they do, every great government, they give all the money to the immigrants and they give them houses and cars and everything. We're the future, we're the youths of the future. Right? We're what's making the future, so why don't we get something instead of all the immigrants that don't even belong over here?
I want to come down here. Sorry, please.
Let's get into a big...
Please, we won't hear what anybody's saying if you don't give each person a go as they speak. Go ahead.
Well, I don't think you can do everything with money. I mean, you have to go back to this family unit. And I think that...
Now listen. Let her, listen, well, just quiet, please. Will you let her say what she wants to say, and if you want to disagree, well, let somebody put up a contrary viewpoint.
I don't care if you disagree with me, that's fine, you know. But I'm just saying
what are you trying to
that,
say?
Well, I think the cottage homes is a really good idea. I mean, with the love and support of a family, because I've got love and support from my family, and I really appreciate it. I couldn't live without it. Yeah, well, you're one of the fortunate. And I think that for someone like Tracy at the end here, you have to consider the individual. Like, you can have the cottage families for the younger people with no parents, and then this block of flats with the support from your friends. For the people who are older, who are perhaps beyond needing the care of their parents. And I mean, it comes back to society as well, because the government can't just hand out the money. Society have got to change their values too.
Well, wait a minute. You want to say something? You want to say something? Yeah. Just hold it a minute, will you, please? Will you just hold... Just hold it a minute, please. Will you just hold it a minute, please? Yeah, what did you want to say?
I'd like to go back to these people who are actually saying things that matter. I was brought up in a working class family. My father left when I was 2. I've had no problems. But I went out on the streets and I hung around with kids who stole cars. And the thing that I think people are ignoring that is pretending everybody on the streets is innocent, that they're only there because they've had these bad things done to them. But these kids go out and they do wrong things. I mean, why is this kid has made a go of his life. This kid over here has made a go of his life.
Just hold it a sec. Now, look, what did you want to say?
Look, we can't relate to the extent that they
That's
can.
right, you can't.
Right, no, we're not claiming to relate.
Just wait a minute. Let him. Good on you. Thank you very much. Will you let him speak, or are you trying to shout down anybody that you don't agree with? Now, will you let him speak? Perhaps you can understand what he has to say, and he's trying to understand what you've got to say. Now, just listen to what he's got to say.
We lay no claims to saying how we know what it is. We're only learning from what they're saying, right? You're saying put to the government what to do. Do you think the government cares about people who aren't voting them in? Like they are? You're asking them to. Now, they're condemning us because we're wearing a uniform. But we're not ignorant to our friends being bashed. You think our parents have got money? They look at us in a uniform and say, oh, we're not going to bash you because we've got money. You can't make a general...
Help ya? I'm Billy. You don't know who I am, do you? Esmeralda's son.
Esmeralda. Yeah. I can see it.
I just wanted to drive over the back end of the property. I'm going to put things right. Your mum's buried out there.
Do what you have to do, son.
Very proper. Found a nice river gum. She liked river gums. I was wondering, you ever heard of Lonely Logan?
Lonely Logan. Jesus Christ. Last time I heard, mail was sent to him at Burke, the pub. But I'd say he'd be dead now, son. Then again, a mad bastard like that wouldn't have the sense to die.
G'day.
You kin of his.
I was wondering if you heard of a bloke called Lonely Logan.
Lonely? Yeah.
Does he live around here?
He's just down the road a bit.